My guest today is Angie Eng. Angie is the Vice President of Measurement, Addressability, and Data Center at the IAB. She has over 30 years of work experience in digital media and has worked for many years at a number of different places, including being an executive at ad agencies. More recently, she is the creator of Angie's Career Gazette, a newsletter and forum for job seekers in digital media, and that will form the basis for much of our conversation today. Angie, it is so good to talk to you.
Great to see you, James, and it's been a pleasure. We've known each other for quite a long time, back in the days of when we were on the Ad Ops Council at IAB, trying to standardize ad verification and viewability.
That feels like a really long time ago.
It does, it does. Those are great times too.
So we'll get into some of what's changed here in a minute, because I think it's important to talk about the evolution. But before we go there, or maybe because of the evolution of the industry, what prompted you to start Angie's Career Gazette, and how do you define success for the Gazette?
Yeah, so I've always had a good network of people that I've been connected with on LinkedIn. And in 2023, there were a lot of layoffs in our industry, and a lot of people reached out to me asking me if I knew anything, especially given my role at IAB, where I have a good purview of what's happening in the marketplace, and due to to the fact that I have a fairly large connection networking pool. And so I had done a lot of one-on-one interviews, giving people advice and all that stuff. And then I also had a friend, Mark Goldberg, who some of you people might know, who started a pay it forward trend on LinkedIn, where he saw a bunch of job postings. He started to share those out, and I started doing the same. And as I was doing that and talking to some of my friends who were looking, who had been laid off, I noticed that I was giving them the same advice over and over and over again. So I felt it was important to maybe perhaps, rather than trying to do this individually, that maybe to share some of my point of views, as well as a lot of these job openings in one space. So that's how Angie's Career Gazette kind of came into fruition. It started off as regular LinkedIn posts. But there's a limitation on character limits for a LinkedIn post. And I was posting anywhere between 50 to 60 job listings. And so I found this great feature on LinkedIn called LinkedIn Newsletters that gives me the creativity and flexibility to make the content as long as I want, and to share different types of content between videos that I see, some of the work that we do at IAB, and then allowing me to share my point of view on different things. So there's a section in every newsletter that you see. I start off with what we call Angie's Thoughts, and that can be anywhere from my perspective of giving career advice or anything that's happening in the industry that I think that is important for people to understand and learn about.
Perfect. Thank you. So one of the reasons I had reached out to you originally was I had seen, I mean, you and I had been talking much of 2023, but at the end of 2023, you posted sort of a look back on some of the key trends and some of the key challenges. If you could just summarize, what do you see as the biggest challenges that job seekers faced in 2023 that will probably continue into 2024?
Yeah, I mean, our industry alone, due to privacy regulations, the rollout of the deprecation of third-party cookies from the Google Chrome team with Privacy Sandbox, the constant changes that we see from Apple iOS in terms of user privacy and data protection. A lot of that has started impacting our industry, where companies aren't generating the same amount of revenue. They might have overhired in 2022, 2021. And so we've seen a the marketplace kind of start sizing themselves. But at the same time, with all these issues with generating revenue, we've seen a lot of layoffs. So the impact has been privacy regulations, these changes from privacy, the upcoming changes from Privacy Sandbox, the shift towards CTV, and less and concerns around audience targeting and measurement has really kind of created some fluctuation in our marketplace. I think that's going to continue into 2024 as well as into 2025. And it's really important for people to kind of not live in what I consider a bubble, right? So if you've been at your job for a while, or you've been doing the same type of job or working on a certain type of role, like social media, programmatic, it's really important to now expand your knowledge base to think about privacy regulations, technical changes, and the much bigger picture of what's affecting our industry. So learn to upscale, up-level your knowledge base around all things outside of your day-to-day role and responsibility, and really start evaluating what's happening across the industry and figuring out how that is going to affect your job role, your organization, and what are the things that you need to do to prepare and develop solutions for.
So let's drill into a couple of potential things that are in that category of, major changes to the industry, which could be viewed as threats or challenges, but also opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
You've mentioned one of them in privacy, because privacy has the potential to create some constraints on publisher revenue and how advertisers and agencies can operate. But potentially it also creates opportunity for those who are experts in privacy regulation. A similar category might be the rise of AI, where a lot of people are concerned about how it may impact their jobs by taking away or moving some of the work. But it also creates opportunities for those who are actually familiar with how it can be leveraged and impacted, potentially even startups. So where do you see the opportunity if you're talking about people expanding their skills or moving into new areas? You mentioned privacy is about, and what are the other areas where there's potentially being disruption, but people should be thinking about reskilling?
I think I think all of these things that are changing and impacting our industry are great opportunities for growth for every single person within our industry. The more you embrace and understand these changes and really think strategically how this can impact certain types of roles, an organization, the more you become an expert or knowledgeable about these things, the you can provide better recommendations. You can rethink and come up with some really innovative ideas, network with various different organizations and different solution providers, and understand what are the potential capabilities of those. So I would take those things that are frustrating the industry right now, right? Become experts in them, or become at least, knowledgeable about them, and incorporate it into your everyday job, right? Your everyday tasks. Because what's happening is if you don't, and you keep doing what you're doing day to day, you're not going to understand why you can't compare benchmarks year over year. And so what does that mean? Why are you seeing a drop in conversions on the back end? Well, it could be because of some of the technical restrictions that we're seeing coming from Apple and from Google. And so if you better understand that, then you can be more creative on, well, how am I going to find solutions to help me fill in that information, fill in that gap? Is it the use of AI? Is it the use of data modeling? Do I need to become a little bit more analytically savvy? Do I need to, up my skills in SQL, in R, or in pivot tables even, right? So get to start learning. And the more of the people that actually move towards that kind of mentality are probably the ones that people are wanting to seek to fill in a role within their organization. They need people to think differently. They need people to come up with different suits. So they're looking for proactive executives, proactive managers to help develop, a different approach to, because a lot of the stuff that we're doing today isn't going to be around next year. So I think it's important.
So staying on that same theme, because you've just been talking about how people need to expand and change their skill set while they're in a job. I was going to ask you a question of what are your sort of top 2 or 3 pieces of advice for people in the industry in 2024 as they think about getting a new job, whether it's expanding their network or what are sort of things they should do. However you want to answer that, and maybe the answer is the same if you're already in a job and thinking about your job may be in jeopardy. What are the types of things that you should focus on? However you want to approach that question.
Yeah. So regardless if you're looking for a job right now or you're currently in a role that you're happy with, I think it's always good to prepare for the just in case, right? So, and that is networking is I think an important aspect of our industry. Being able to make connections and learn from others every day. I go on LinkedIn every day. I look to see what is trending. I read the different trade articles out there. I love hearing different perspectives and learn different skill sets from some of these posts that I see on my network. There's several webinars out there, right? They're all free. In fact, I host a bunch of webinars, ones that are called the State of Data, where we touch on a lot of these different things to help ensure that people are informed. I think it's important to, there's this feature on LinkedIn called follow or connect. So if you're not comfortable, always, a lot of people want to keep their connections to people that they know, which is great, which is fine, right? But I do think that if you have been in this industry for a long time, you should have, in my opinion, almost at least 500 connections for every year that you've worked in this industry, right? So I've been in this for 30 years. It would be great to have 15,000 connections, which I do. So, but not only do I do that, but there are some people where, hey, maybe a connection, I might not want to connect with them, but I follow them. And when I follow them and I see their posts, I respond to their posts, right? I like it, I make a comment. And so those people who I'm following, they may reciprocate and follow me. And so therefore, now I've expanded my community. But being very active within your network is really important. And that helps you not only prepare for your job in the future, but it also helps with your job search right now, right? So I've been able to connect several people that don't know each other through this philosophy of, like I had a friend say, hey, do you know so and so forth from this company? They just have I just saw a job listing. Now, I might not know that person very intimately, but because I'm very active on LinkedIn, I'm sure they've seen my post a lot. So when I make connections, I'll be like, sure, even though I don't know them, I'll make the connection. And there are tons of people out there in this quote unquote pay it forward kind of movement who are doing the same. And so I highly recommend connect. I wrote an article about, do you connect or do you follow? So read that article from the Gazette and make a decision of doing that. But I think networking and creating a brand for yourself out there helps you prepare for any job role in the future and proves to your managers that you're on top of your game.
Yeah, I mean, just building on what you said about, the pay it forward community. As you know, I left my last sort of corporate role just over a year ago, and for a number of months was trying to work out what to do with my time. And I reached out to hundreds of people and was just overwhelmed by how generous people were by answering questions about what they were doing, how they thought about basically working in general. And so I think anyone who's concerned about, oh, I don't want to impose too much on their time, they'll tell you if they're too busy and they may not make the time. But 99% of the people that I reached out to made half an hour for a conversation.
Yeah, I think I think there's so many great people out there that they see what's going on in the marketplace, and more than willing to help out their fellow colleagues.
Let me ask you a question about sort of at least what I perceive as the rising use of different Slack groups within the industry. And again, it's hard for me to separate whether this is a new trend or whether it's just a trend I became aware of. But there's been certainly in the last sort of 6 months or year, AdTech God started a Slack channel for industry. I think was it Mark Goldberg who's done the Mad Tech? Am I right in that one?
Yep.
So what's your thoughts because you've been talking a lot about, sort of the LinkedIn and how to use the newsletters, the follow feature as a tool for establishing your brand. How important do you think participation in those sort of Slack online communities is?
Oh, those Slack. So there's also Beeler Tech has a Discord. It's not on Slack, it's on Discord. But
Okay.
Beeler Tech has a Discord. I don't know why he doesn't have it on Slack. I'm going to have to ask him that. So Beeler, why do you not have it on Slack? Anyway, those are great forums for helping to answer questions that you as an individual know that because I would say they're very cohort based, right? So the people that are in those Slack channels, you have some sort of commonality. AdTech God, there's a lot of questions, especially for engineers, developers, people who are in analytics, especially on the programmatic side, where there's lots of questions about how do ad servers work, issues with supply chain, and how do people troubleshoot certain issues. So it creates some sort of community where you know that, hey, when I ask a question out there, someone's going to respond. And you can have offline conversations. Whereas I think LinkedIn is more around thought leadership and sharing of events and networking. This is really a community where you get to feel very intimate with a bunch of friends and you can have back and forth conversations. And it's hard to do a back and forth conversation in a post, even though you can. It's the same functionality. It's a different vibe.
Yep, got it. Okay, coming back to the growing parts of the industry, because I'm a big believer in if you're trying to find a job or grow your career, you want to tie your career in some sense to areas that are growing. And what's top of mind for you? Is it retail media networks? Is it CTV? Is it sort of the walled gardens? How do you think about, if you're someone trying to redefine your career in digital media, how do you think about the areas that are likely to grow for the next couple of years?
Yeah, so from the all of those, CTV is growing, podcasting, retail media networks, and I think retail media networks are going to evolve into marketplace networks. So think of where it's not just retailers that are leveraging their data for monetization to enable as a sales tool, but you're going to also see other verticals or categories. CPG companies will likely get into this. Travel has already started. I think there probably will be financial services at some point. I think the entertainment industry, right? So I think I have a feeling like the NBCs, the Disney Pluses is going to leverage their subscription base and not only leverage it to target people within their streaming platforms, but likely also create some sort of marketplace for them so that they can target those individuals outside of their O&O based on some of the shows that people watch and create cohorts around them, right?
Yep. Yep.
So I do think that that marketplace networks are going to be a thing, as well as contextual targeting. So if you're interested in contextual AI, both from a generative AI, a creative standpoint, creative and content, tools and platforms that are that we're seeing several new tools come into the marketplace. But I also see the use of AI in measurement and attribution. And I think a lot of the companies like data clean rooms, CDPs, CMPs, any company that leverages a lot of data for analytics and insights, they're going to really grow pretty aggressively in 2024.
Got it. Let's talk a little bit about the emotional side of doing a job search, because it's very easy for you and I to sit back here and analytically say, here are the things you do. Get on LinkedIn, grow your brand, be in Slack, be part of one of these growing areas in the industry. But for a lot of people who have been in a stable job for a long time, maybe they're blindsided by being laid off, or for whatever other reason, they're finding that they're having to do a complete shift in their career. What advice do you have for them in terms of thinking about the tools or the emotional support network that they need to be able to basically execute against a good job search?
That's a really hard question. I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer that well, but I will say that based on some of the conversations that I've had with people, they feel very insecure right now if they haven't been building their brand and growing their network, that they have, what is it called, imposter syndrome.
Yep.
Right. So a lot of people feel very deflated because they've been laid off. They feel like they maybe, they second guess their skill sets, their knowledge, and they're like, why would someone want to connect and follow me? Why would someone accept a connection request if I send it to them? My advice is get over it. Get over it. Build your brand. Get out there, because I've been in that situation. I've been in that situation many, many times. And I would say that leaning on your network is how many people get their jobs. And the fact that, if I call someone or reach out to someone and they knew me, they're like, you know what? I know the work that you do. I've seen you at events. I've heard what you said. I know you know this person. I'm more than happy to introduce you to so and so forth. Or I think you should consider going to client side, which happened for me, right? So they said you would be a great fit for this client role. And I was like, I don't have any skill sets on client side. They're like, yeah, but you have this knowledge base, and I think Morgan Stanley would benefit from having someone like you, right? So people can see. I think especially your previous managers, they can see like what you're capable of doing based on their interaction or their perception of you. And so try not to be, I know it's hard to not be negative, but pick yourself up. You have a voice, you have experience, you know things, and share those out so that people can actually see that you know your stuff. And it's all about showing what you know. And the more you show what you know, the more people will have confidence that you know what you're talking about, or that you perhaps could fill a role that might be related to it. So
Yeah.
I wasn't an analytics person. I don't really have I'm not a data scientist, right? I was an account executive, I was a media buyer, and I was in ad ops. But I am very analytical. And so people have seen that. And so, which is part of why I think I got this role here at IAB. They saw that I have business requirements, logistical skills. I understand some of the technical stuff. And so they were able to piece that perception of me together. And so thank you, Randall Rothenberg and Dennis Buckheim for hiring me here at IAB at the time.
Just building on that, my own personal experience, because I already mentioned that last year I started reaching out to do a listening tour of 50 or 100 people, and I found it really difficult at the start to reach out to people I hadn't necessarily connected with in the last 10 years. And I'm be like, oh, they're going to be annoyed if I'm reaching out to them out of the blue. It has been a fantastic process. There have been people that I worked with 10 years ago, lost contact with, who I now either work with or see every week. And the process, once you get into, okay, I'm going to reconnect with my network, can actually be a really energizing thing. As I don't want to downplay the fact that there is some angst you need to get over to start that process, but I have been blown away by how sort of enriching it's been to reestablish some of those connections from the last 10 years.
Yeah, and I would say, don't be embarrassed that you were laid off or fired from a job, right? I think a lot of people in our industry understand what's going on in the marketplace, and they're not going to count it against you for if you were laid off or fired.
This has been a fantastic conversation, Angie. Let's try to finish with some optimism.
Right.
What are you most optimistic about going into 2024?
I love the fact that our industry is shifting towards a privacy by design, and that we have to be more creative and innovative. So we're gonna, and the use of AI is just going to make it even more fun. We're gonna have lots of different tools at our fingertips. Lots of different changes are gonna happen in the marketplace. You're going to have to be creative in the way that you think about your approaches to operations, logistics, strategy, media, and the advancements of, with fiber optics, with cloud-based technology, IoTs, right? I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for AR and VR to be to blow up, right? And be able to create experiences and bring brand experiences into those environments and have people really engage and interact. So I think there's a lot of stuff. We talked a lot about some of the challenges, but I do think, like we said earlier, there are opportunities, and there's going to be, the next 5 years is going to be a fun roller coaster.
Excellent. Thank you, Angie. Again, to everybody who is not already following Angelina Eng on Angie's Career Gazette on LinkedIn, please do that. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, please hit the subscribe button right now. Thank you so much, Angie.
Thank you, James. Great pleasure.